When I think of the Delta, the first word that jumps out at me is probably resilience. It's quiet strength born from generations of people who've weathered hard times and kept going. Uh, they've got the ability to bend while finding purpose uh, in the struggle. So that's that's probably what growing up down in southeast Arkansas reminds me of. And I remember the Delta like it was a ghost from another time, a specter that haunts the edges of my memory. The land sprawled out flat and endless, a sea of cotton and soybeans under a sky that seemed wider and bluer than anything else. It was a place where the sun set a blaze of orange and reds, fading into twilight that whispered secrets to the cicadas. The scent of soil was rich and loamy, mingling with the sweet tang of river water that carved its path through our lives. In the morning, the fog would rise off the fields like a spirit, clinging to everything it touched, softening the world into something dreamlike. I'd walk those fields with my friends, feeling the earth firm and familiar beneath my feet, each step a reminder of the roots that held me. The Delta was home, in a way that home is part of your bones, part of your blood. But time has a way of wearing down even the strongest of foundations. The floods came and the storms and the relentless march of progress that left the old ways crumbling like worn down edges of a photograph. The house where I grew up stands empty now, the windows staring out like hollow eyes. The fields are overgrown and the barn roof sagging under the weight of years. Yet, in the quiet moments when the world falls away, I can still hear the echoes of my childhood. The laughter of my cousins as we run through the corn rows, the call of the red-winged blackbird, the hum of the river at night. They are ghosts, yes, but they're my ghosts. They speak of a time where life was simpler, where the world was as wide as the horizon full of promise. In the remains, there is still life. The wildflowers bloom in defiance of neglect, the burst of color against the gray. The river still flows as it always has, a constant amidst the change. And there, in the midst of the ruin, I find a kind of peace. The Delta taught me to endure, to find beauty in the scars left by time. It's a place that lives with me no matter where I go. I sit on the porch steps, the wood cool and rough under my hands, and I listen. The Delta speaks in a language of resilience, of survival. It tells me that there is a kind of beauty in what remains, in the memories that bind us to this place. It's a hard lesson, but a good one. The kind of lesson you carry with you, the kind that makes you strong. And so I hold the Delta close, a talisman of the past, a reminder of who I am and where I come from. It is gone, but it's not forgotten. It lives on in the stories I tell, in the quiet moments of reflection, in the enduring spirit that finds strength in broken places. In those days, the town was quiet. We played in the streets until the streetlights flickered on, the signal that it was time to go home. Our small town had a rhythm, like the slow, steady beat of a drum. It was not loud, but you felt it in your bones. The summers were hot and the winters were cold. We knew every neighbor, every dog, every crack in the sidewalk. The music was everywhere. It floated from car radios and kitchen windows, from cassette players and jukeboxes and pizza joints. The melodies of the 80s held something for everyone. Springsteen sang of working man's struggles, and we felt it, even though we were too young to work. Madonna's voice brought the thrill of rebellion, a spark of something new and daring in our otherwise predictable lives. We spent our days outside riding bikes and building forts. At nights we gathered in basements and garages where the glow of a television or the sound of a record player could transform a space into something almost magical. The songs of Michael Jackson and Prince were the soundtrack of our discoveries, our dreams of our future. And then there were the movies. We watched them all. E.T. and Back to the Future, where the impossible seemed possible. The Goonies were our adventure, our treasure hunt in the confines of our small town. Ferris Bueller's Day Off made us dream of days when we could skip school and conquer the city. We laughed at Ghostbusters and trembled at The Shining. Top Gun made us feel the thrill of speed, and The Breakfast Club spoke to us, told us we were not alone in feeling lost and misunderstood. Friendships were made easily and lasted long. We shared secrets and stories over the music that poured from our radios and the scenes that played out on our TV screens. Each song a memory, each movie a touchstone of who we were and what we had hoped to become. The town seemed vast then, though now it's just a speck on the map. But it was everything to us. We lived simply, not knowing that the world was changing around us. The news spoke of conflicts and technologies, but in our town, time stood still. The music and movies connected us to something larger, a world beyond the fields and the narrow streets. Yet they were also the thread that tied us together, binding our hearts in the shared rhythm and stories of those unforgettable years. Looking back, it's the music and the movies that stay with me the most. They're the soundtrack and the script of our youth, the echo of a time when life was uncomplicated and full of promise. We were young and the world was wide open. Every song and every film were a new horizon. We were boys then, and we were free. The summers were long and the days were full. We rode our bikes through dusty streets and the sun baking the asphalt until it shimmered like a mirage. We carried our baseball gloves over our handlebars, and the smell of worn leather mingled with the scent of freshly cut grass. There was a vacant lot down by the American Legion where we played our endless games. The lot was ours, and it was perfect in its imperfection. We were rough and tumble, and we didn't mind the dirt. It felt good to be dirty. It was a sign that you had lived, had played hard, and had been part of the world. We climbed trees and skinned our knees, and nobody told us to be careful. We weren't careful. We were boys. In evenings, we gathered in someone's back room. There was always one house where the parents were gone and didn't mind the noise. We listened to records and talked about things we didn't understand yet. We passed around comic books and dreamt of adventures far beyond our small town. There was no rush. The nights were ours too, and we felt them stretch out endlessly. The stars sharp and bright in the cool, clear air. There were moments of quiet too. Fishing at the lake, the water was still as we whispered because it felt wrong to break the silence. We watched the bobbers float and talked about everything and nothing. It was good to have friends like that, who could just be with you in the silence. We grew up and the world changed. The bikes were sold, the lot by the Legion became a place where people parked their cars, and the back rooms were empty. But those days were real, and they were ours. We had been friends together. and that would never change. We grew up and moved away, but those days stayed with us. They were simple and good, filled with the kind of innocence and joy that only exists in childhood. We were children then, boys and girls together, and the world was a wide open place. We had each other, and that was enough. As I find myself revisiting a few familiar places, the sun seemed to just hang out over the edge of the earth, casting a golden backdrop against the endless rows of cotton and soybeans in southeast Arkansas. The air was thick with the scent of earth and the hum of fireflies, a symphony of summer. As we drove down the dusty back roads, Earl Thomas Conley's "Holding Her" and "Loving You" played from the tape deck, his voice a melancholy reminder of the days gone by. There was a simplicity in those songs, a truth that resonated with the rhythm of the land. Johnny Rodriguez, "Pass Me By If You're Only Passing Through," came on next, his melodies weaving through the memories of my youth. I remember the feel of the truck's worn leather seats, the steady rumble of the engine as it carried us through the heart of the South. The landscape blurred past, familiar yet ever-changing, each turn a step back in time. The fields stretched out like chapters of a well-worn book, each one telling a story of hard work, of sweat and toil under the relentless sun. Thinking back, at night, we'd find ourselves at old country bars, the kind with wooden floors scuffed from years of two-stepping and waltzes. The jukebox was loaded with our favorites, Conway Twitty's "Play Guitar Play" and George Strait's "Amarillo by Morning" and Gary Stewart's "She's Acting Single" and "I'm Drinking Doubles." We danced until our legs ached, the music a steady beat that matched the thumping of our hearts. There was a joy in those moments, a raw, unfiltered happiness that was hard to find anywhere else. The faces at those bars were as familiar as the songs. Farmers, ranchers, and dreamers, all gathered under the same roof, drawn together by the music and the promise of a night's escape. We'd raise our glasses and toast to the good times, to the nights that seemed to stretch on forever. The laughter was loud, the stories tall, and the friendships forged in those smoky rooms were as strong as the oak beams overhead. Driving through the farmland now, the memories come rushing back, vivid and bittersweet. The world had changed, but the land remained the same. Kenny Rogers, 20 years ago, played on, each note a bridge to the past, a reminder of the simpler days when all we needed was a truck, a radio, and the open road ahead. You see, the fields of southeast Arkansas were more than just crops. They were the backdrop of our youth, the canvas on which we painted our lives. And as the music played on, it was as if we were there again, young and carefree, with nothing but the stars and the road ahead. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, ease on over to YouTube, Keith Hurst, Dirt Road Sessions, and subscribe to my channel, please, and help me grow it, and I'll keep on telling stories. Thanks a lot. Have a blessed day.